Okay, I think that there should be gender equality, but in order to get to that point, women need to recognize themselves as equal to men, and until that happens, no man is ever gonna see a woman as equal.
Yeah, I would agree that like the struggle to get to gender equality is not just with men. A lot of women think that it is, and it's not. It's also about other women.
I mean, it's definitely not about bringing men down, but like equalizing it, so bringing women up to the same.
You mean like gender equality?
Yes, but like a lot of people see it as like men are up here, so we need to bring them down to like our level and bring them down instead of like saying raise up and be equal.
Yeah, that's implying that women are lower than men
anyway. So I think that's like a common thing, a misconception, I guess, with gender.
I think it's less that we need to subtract power from men, or like subtract like the things in which men are seen as above women. We shouldn't detract from the men, we should add to the women.
And maybe it's not about like adding, but about like how people view it. Like I think men and women are equal, but it's just like society's perception on men and women needs to be equalized.
And part of that's because we live in a patriarchal society where it's a male-dominated world in the workplace and in the home. Like, even though it's the women that stay at home, like, until that changes, like, the mindset isn't going to change.
What you want, baby, I got what you need.
And like along with that topic, people are like, men don't have a right to make that decision. Like, I don't even think it's about that. I don't think anybody has the right to make that decision for anybody.
It's between the mother and the father of that.
Yeah.
To go back a little bit, like, for the equal rights, like, right now in Maryland, men can't claim to be raped, and that's also an inequality.
Yeah, that's so wrong.
And, like, that's not something people necessarily recognize. Like,
yeah, that's part of the problem with sexism, is that most of the world sees it as being only against females, while there are quite a few things that are against males.
Yeah, I totally agree. It needs to be equal. Like, you can't say that a man can't be raped because he can. Like,
that's just a thing that, like,
rape
that
is just unwilling sex. That's
Yeah.
pretty much all it is.
I'm pretty sure men can have unwilling sex.
And like only men are required to serve in the army, like in the draft.
Yeah,
Women are.
That's a big
It's
problem.
ridiculous.
Yeah.
Women should, if we're going to make women equal to men, then we should be required to do exactly what they can.
Yeah, register for a draft.
And I don't honestly think that it makes the female image better that they say it's because
they're too delicate.
Like we're too delicate, or we have to like start families.
Or men will feel the need to protect the woman if they're next to. That's what part of the argument is, and that's ridiculous.
Well, I mean,
I'm sorry.
also that might be like harkening back to like because like now more women are in the army, so that's like that argument is less relevant. But
it's getting less and less valid as the years go on.
But I mean, I don't think they're ever going to change that just because of the way our like American culture is.
I think it comes down to the stereotypes that are involved with gender, because like men are supposed to be seen as like the more powerful, dominant gender, but like they also have stereotypes as being like the more aggressive, like sexually and just aggressive in general. And I feel like in order to like reach equality, we need to get rid of like those stereotypes and have people realize that men are not all aggressive, and like women are not all docile and like
subservient.
Just because a woman is strong, it doesn't mean that she's like gay or a huge feminist or less of a woman.
That's another thing, just the connotation with the word feminist. Now it's like a bad thing to be a
it was
feminist.
never supposed to be a bad thing.
Feminism to me is gender equality, but people associate feminism with being women are better than men, and it's not. And that's like, I call myself a feminist just so I can like say that's not what feminism is. And
Exactly.
I tell people.
I try not to say feminism anymore because people get the wrong impression, so I say
Yeah.
I'm an equal rights person.
But that's, like, it's sad.
I know, it's sad that you have to
becomes,
say
like,
that.
Like
So
a taboo phrase.
Yeah.
And it's not like an easy switch either. It's ingrained into all of us. I mean, like
Yeah.
tonight, I got catcalled twice in a dark parking lot, and that's not fun. And it's scary, and it's not right to do for anybody. But I had to remind myself, I'm scared not because this person is a male. I'm scared because they are bigger than me, and I don't know them. You know, you have to make that adjustment in your mind. That person could have been a woman, and I would have been just as scared.
But also, we have to think about, like
Right.
women objectify men all the time, and I think that's, like, a double standard as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I would never just, like, call out to a guy and say, hey, you're cute. I mean, that's a personality thing, but
Yeah.
There are those who would do that.
we assume that, oh, he's a guy, he doesn't care. That's not something he cares about. But that's not true. If I care about it and I don't want someone saying that to me because it scares me, then it's completely valid that it could scare a male.
Right.
When boys are growing up, they're taught that like the archetype of a male is like big, muscular, and like aggressive, not only in daily life but like towards women, and like so men are actually taught that to be manly you have to be this like sculpture of like a man. Like you have to be this cookie cutter person where you're like big and strong and tough and you treat women badly and things like that. And I don't think that that view of a man should continue to exist.
And
because
if you're not like that, you're gay.
exactly.
And it does.
And not
Or
that
you
there's
go
anything,
nowhere.
and not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's simply not true. Just because you're not that archetype, it doesn't mean you're gay. It's just not.
Exactly.
And just
Because you're gay doesn't mean you can't
Can't
be
be
manly,
athletic
exactly.
and manly.
You can't fit that cookie cutter.
too.
And it does start at a really young age. Like, I remember reading this story about this girl who, she worked at a camp, and she was like watching over these two kids, and this girl was swimming, and the little boy was like chasing after her, and he was bothering her, and she told him to stop, and he like wouldn't stop, and then the counselor went over, and she was like, she doesn't like that, you need to stop, and then another camp counselor came by, and he was a guy, and he was like, she's just telling you that, like, she actually does like it, and
No means no.
yeah.
And I mean that's for all genders,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
been a problem like between men and women
For so long.
for so long that we have to break that first.
All I'm asking is for a little respect when you come home. Just a little bit, hey baby, just a little bit. Just a little bit, mister, just a little.
I think that implies that men don't care about those things, and that if it were women, we would get the job done. And I don't think that's true. I think that in itself is a pretty sexist statement. I think
I don't think so. Because, see, what I perceive that as is, so we have Congress, and Congress should represent what our country is in a smaller form. And it doesn't, because we have 51% of the population are women, and that's not reflected in Congress. And so, if we had that many more women in Congress, the issue of birth control, which is a woman's issue, if that's strictly a woman's issue, there's no getting around that. That would be resolved.
Be a non-issue.
Like, it wouldn't be an issue anymore, because all of these men in Congress are the ones arguing about it, but they're not the ones
it applies to.
Exactly. So it's more of about, so we would have women in there, they would have made that decision one less issue to worry about.
And I think what that statement was actually saying was it's like, women wouldn't be talking about like things that aren't relevant. Like, we wouldn't be just worried about ourselves, we'd be worried about everything that's going on.
Yeah, I don't think that we should be talking about birth control in Congress. Like,
Yeah.
that's not a government issue.
Yeah.
Like, it's birth control.
But because we don't have a lot of women in there to say it because it is a women's issue, it's still being talked about. That's not even like a slam against our male Congress members. It's just that since it's not a men's issue, how can it be resolved if we don't have more women in there?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like if a man cannot produce a child, then he should not be making decisions for people that can.
And that's why the decision isn't being made. But I get what you mean, because when talking about gender equality, we don't want to, like, say things
Or-
that...
That bring the other sex. My point was just
Yeah, exactly.
there are a lot of women who are against abortion and who talk about that subject, and birth control and stuff like that, and feel the same way that
Some men do.
some men
Yeah,
do about it.
Yeah, I thought about that too. I don't think it was worded correctly, but I like the point that I perceived really got across.
We meaning like people who like want to
Promote
equalize.
gender equality.
Right. We have to be really careful about the way that we phrase and word things so
Yeah.
that it can't be like taken the
Construed
wrong
as
way.
sexist.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
we're fighting an uphill battle, and everything has to be the simplest and most clear, so that we can like start opening people up. Because like this is how I guarantee if these issues start to be solved, everything else will begin to be solved.
Is that we shouldn't be focusing on these little, like,
Yeah,
not that they're trivial, like abortion is not a trivial matter, but it's
it's not a
something-
government matter.
It's not something that needs to be handled by our Congress.